Tottenham must not sack Ange Postecoglou, and I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about that performance against Bournemouth because it was dreadful. Bournemouth didn't even need to get out of second gear at the Vitality on Thursday night. They absolutely dominated us, even if it was off the ball. They never looked under threat. Tottenham looked lacklustre, they looked lost, they looked tired, they just looked like they've given up, and that is a big problem for Ange Postecoglou. However, I don't think sacking the manager is the answer. I just feel like with the injuries currently at the moment, things were always going to get a little bit toxic, a little bit more difficult for Ange, and I sort of feel a little bit bad for him. I saw the videos of him going over to the away fans after the loss last night, and he was getting a ridiculous amount of abuse. There were people calling him a fat C-word from the crowd, calling him Postecoglou or Postecoglou. It's just ridiculous. Look, regardless of what you think of him as a manager and whether you want him at the football club or not, hurling personal abuse at him and shouting at him from the stands instead of doing it to his face in front of him, I just think is absolutely ridiculous. You can voice your opinions, you can say you want him out, but some of the stuff that was said was absolutely horrible. I mean, the performance didn't help, and I get why the travelling fans were so upset. They obviously spend thousands across the season to go and follow Tottenham across the country, in the Premier League, in Europe, in the cup competitions, and what they were repaid with last night against Bournemouth was absolutely shocking. I think there was some real disappointing performances. I think the doggy's performances this season have been so far from what we know he's capable from. Archie Gray still being played at right back, I think, is just completely the wrong decision. I don't think he's a fullback whatsoever. He is a central midfielder, and to make things worse, Tottenham finished the game against Bournemouth with Archie Gray at centre-back alongside Radu Dragusin. So yeah, unless Romero is suddenly fit to start against Chelsea on Sunday, we could be looking at that as a back two pairing with a doggy and Porro either side. It's going to be an absolute field day for Chelsea. We had 0.58 expected goals against Bournemouth. 0.58 expected goals. We allowed them to have 21 shots. In that second half, it was one of the worst second halves I've seen in a long time, and in general, one of the worst games of football I've seen under Ange Postecoglou so far. We just allowed them to break so easily. We were so far away from what we need in our defensive shape. We were so open on the counter-attack, and realistically, if we're being honest with ourselves, Bournemouth should have won that game 4 or 5-0. They should have done, and then people would have been really angry. I think obviously, when you look at both sides of it, you're missing Romero, you're missing Van der Ven, you're missing Bentancur. Son started on the bench. Kulusevski was off it. We were relying on Werner to come off the bench and change things. You're not going to go very far with that. And I think the squad is really thin. And this is one of the reasons why I don't think sacking Ange Postecoglou is the answer. If you take a look at the squad, it is nowhere near equipped enough to be able to deal with and compete with the level of intensity and the amount of games that Postecoglou and Tottenham have. It just simply is not the case. We have so many young players in our team that need nurturing, they need looking after, they need improving, and it's just not going to be enough to be able to compete in the Premier League, the Europa League, the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup over the course of the entire season. Hamstring injury after hamstring injury. We have injury-prone players. We've got people who are, 30 or 32 years old in the form of Son, who can't play every single minute of every single game anymore like we know that they used to be able to. The transfer window, when I look back on the transfer window, at the time, I was actually like, okay, we've brought in some decent players. We could have done more, but decided not to. Let's see how we get on. And now reflecting back on it, it shows how thin our squad actually is. It shows how underprepared we were for the challenges that we were going to face. Ange plays with this high intensity, all-out attack, aggressive pressing system. And he also trains the way he wants his players to play. So it's full speed, constantly throughout the week. So naturally there are going to be injuries, and we don't have the players to cover those injuries. When you're relying on bringing Lucas Bergvall and Timo Werner off the bench to try and save a game for you, you know you're in trouble. But what other option does Ange have at the moment? I'm glad that he's come out and said that we need to bolster the squad in the January window. And I just hope that we don't go looking in like the Championship or these lower leagues. Go out and buy some quality proven players in January to help us get our season back on track. We're lucky at the moment that the table is as close as it is, that we're not actually out of the running for the European places already. I know we are as close to 20th place as we are to first place. Liverpool are very far ahead of everyone else though. And yesterday with a win, we would have gone into 5th. We would have gone above Brighton and just behind Manchester City. But with a loss to Chelsea on Sunday, we could drop as low as 13th. So the table's really, really even at the moment. So it perhaps paints a worse picture than perhaps it is. But then you look at it from the other side and we've lost 6 of our 14 games so far this season. We've lost as many games as Crystal Palace, as Everton, as Brentford. We've lost more games than Fulham, than Bournemouth, than Manchester United, who everyone was banging on about being in a crisis. They've lost 1 less game than us. So there's a lot wrong at the moment. There's a lot wrong, but ultimately, I'm sticking with the manager. You are more than welcome to disagree with me. Please, get down in the comments. Tell me why you think he should be sacked, if that is your opinion. I want to hear. I want to have a chat with people about it. I just think there is absolutely no point in starting the cycle again. We do this all the time. We sack a manager. We bring a new manager in. We have an upturn of form. Manager signs some players in the transfer window. We have a massive dip in form. Players start getting injured. We start having a really, really poor run. The manager gets sacked. We start again. Sacking the manager is not the answer. We are in a rebuild. Whether we like it or not, we are in a rebuild. 1.5 years into the rebuild, Ange Postecoglou got more points in his first season than Mikel Arteta did with Arsenal. Let's not forget that. This season has been rough so far, but it is salvageable. It is salvageable. We're hoping to have Christian Romero back for the weekend. Van de Ven should be back in the next week or so. Bentancur will be there when his ban is over. And then we've got the January transfer window, which is so important. Think about it a little bit, because I waited till this morning to record this video because a lot of anger and a lot of emotion comes out immediately after a game. And when you're sat there and you've watched a dire performance like the one against Bournemouth, it would be very easy for me to sit here and say, I've lost the faith in Ange. I don't think he's the man for the job. Let's replace him. But who are the replacements? That's the other question you have to ask. Who do we replace him with? I don't think the manager market at the moment is great at all. It really, really isn't. Who are we going to end up with? Gareth Southgate? Someone like that? Ange has shown us that we can play at the top level and we can beat the teams at the top level when we're on it. The issue is he doesn't have the squad to be able to do it consistently. And I think that is the biggest problem. The squad that we have available probably is the worst we've had in a while, with no Harry Kane and not performing Heung-min Son and these key injuries as well. Sunday is going to be really, really interesting. But the thing is, if we're on it, I know that we can compete with Chelsea. Chelsea are brilliant this season. I hate to say it, they are brilliant this season. Enzo Maresca has done a fantastic job. The squad that they do have that everybody was laughing at finally looks like it is capable of competing, and they're able to rotate so much and keep that same quality on the field. And they're going to cause a lot of problems for Tottenham on Sunday. But the crowd on Sunday don't get on the players and the manager from minute one. Protest the ownership if you want to. Protest the board if you want to. I completely understand that. And I completely understand why. Because it has been an ongoing cycle and pattern for so many years. And things aren't going to change, to be blunt. But we can win on Sunday. We can win any game we're involved with. The issue we have is we don't know which Tottenham is going to turn up. We don't know which Tottenham's going to step out onto that field. We don't know what version of James Maddison's going to turn up on Sunday. We don't know if Kulusevski's going to carry the show or if he's going to be quite poor like he was against Bournemouth. We don't know if Yves Bissouma's going to have a stormer of a game or if he's going to struggle on the ball like he did against Bournemouth. So there's perspective in all of this, and I urge people to think about it. What is sacking the manager going to solve? You know, I tweeted out last night that I'm sticking with him, and I had very mixed reactions in the comments and in the replies to the post. Some calling me a clown, some calling me Levy's poison, but then others saying, yep, there's no alternative. Stick with him. What's changing it going to do? We're all in this together. We have to ride the rough patches. Every team that has gone through a rebuild has gone through these patches. Arsenal had it with Mikel Arteta. Liverpool had it with Jurgen Klopp. It took a year for Manchester City to be a decent team under Pep Guardiola. Pochettino struggled in his first bit with Chelsea. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. You can't click your fingers after losing the best striker in the world and expect us to be world beaters every single week. It's frustrating. I hate it. I hate it as much as you guys do. I want us to win. I want us to win a trophy this season, and maybe we will. But if we sack the manager, I don't think we will. The Carabao Cup is in a couple of weeks. The chance to get into the semi-final of that. We need to make it through to the next round of the Europa League. And we have chances. We have been a nice draw in the FA Cup third round against Tamworth. So, personally, I'm keeping the faith. Bournemouth was horrible. And, you know, maybe if we lose 5-0 to Chelsea on Sunday, things change. But perspective is key. We can win that game. We can go on a run. Something is just missing. And maybe when these players come back from injury, things will change and things will be better. For me, Ange Postecoglou is not the man that needs to be replaced. We do not need a new manager. We need to stick with him, and we need to give him at least until the end of the season. Give him January to bring some players in and see how we get on. Do we want Ryan Mason in charge until the end of the season? We've been there before. We've seen it. We don't need it. There's probably one manager out there that I'd be keen on bringing in, and that's Julian Nagelsmann, but it's not going to happen. You're not going to draw the head coach of Germany away. So let's just try and have a bit of perspective, a bit of calm on the whole situation. See what happens Sunday. Bournemouth was horrible, I admit. It was nasty. We're all Tottenham fans at the end of the day, and all we want is for the team to succeed. And I truly believe that Ange can succeed with the squad that he has. Let's see how we get on. Enjoy the first couple of days of your weekend. Let's see what Sunday brings. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Thank you for your increased support over the last few weeks. As always, come on you Spurs.